to meet you. This video is on how to handle DDL plus DML stored procedures in Fabric SQL endpoint. Managing stored procedures that contain DDL and DML operations in a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse SQL endpoint requires a different approach than in a traditional SQL server environment. Unlike classic SQL engines, the Lakehouse SQL endpoint does not fully support stored procedures that return result sets, nor does Power BI have native connectivity to execute stored procedures directly against the SQL endpoint. Because of these limitations, the recommended handling pattern becomes a multi-step approach. One, transforms stored procedures, using Nyach temp tables into extractable logic. If your stored procedure uses DDL, drop create statements, DML operations, insert, update, delete, intermediate, and temp tables, you must refactor it to output the final result in a way that Fabric can consume. This usually means running the logic inside a notebook or pipeline SQL activity, avoiding returning result sets from temp tables directly. Pipelines or copy activity instead of direct stored proc execution. Since Power BI cannot execute stored procedures from a Lakehouse SQL endpoint, and copy activity cannot write directly to Delta from stored proc output, the workflow becomes run the stored procedure or rewritten SQL using copy activity and output as CSV parquet. Avoid writing the output directly to a Lakehouse Delta table, because Fabric disallows DML plus DDL stored proc execution inside copy activity targeting Delta. Thus, the intermediate file format is required. 3. Use notebook or pipeline to write output to Delta. Once the transformed data is generated, CSV or Parquet, use a Fabric data pipeline or a notebook, PySpark or SQL. Lakehouse Delta table, because these support the DML and DDL operations that a SQL endpoint cannot handle directly via stored procedures. 4. For simple transformations, prefer views instead of stored procedures. If your logic does not require DDL, temp tables, or multi-step transformations, then the best practice is create a SQL view in the Lakehouse SQL endpoint. Let Power BI connect directly to the view for tables or shortcuts. Views are the most Fabric-aligned approach because they integrate cleanly with Power BI and preserve performance without staging.